On this week's edition of inCycle, the thrills and spills of the last 7 editions of Il Lombardia.
Rosa through the middle, coming round the outside though. Here we go with Duran, but he can't get around him. It's Diego Rosa through the middle. Here comes Chavez. Oh, Colombia have a monument! Colombia have a monument! You take a trip along the road that makes the Cadell Evans Great Ocean Road Race.
It's almost like bike riding heaven. You know, you've got Great Ocean Road, you've got some of the world's best coastline, and you've also got friendly locals.
And a look at all the changes in the World Tour calendar for the rest of the season. When the 2020 season began in Australia back in January, few could have anticipated the sport shutting down a matter of weeks later. The unprecedented disruption has seen the cycling calendar torn up and rewritten on a number of occasions since, and now all hope is on completing the season over what promises to be a frenetic next 4 months. With most races dislodged from their traditional placing in the year, we can now take a look at the rejigged schedule and some of the highlights in the weeks to come. With racing resuming in earnest through August, Il Lombardia brings the Italian Classics season to a crescendo on Saturday the 15th. At a shortened Criterium du Dauphiné, riders will be putting finishing touches to their preparations for the sports showpiece event starting at the end of the month, the Tour de France. The 3-week travelling circus looks set to be cycling's first major test in the COVID era and could well define the viability of the rest of the season. Elsewhere, a full 7-day Tirreno Adriatico starts on the 7th of September, offering good racing kilometres to any rider not doing a big lap of France. One of the more eye-catching clashes of the new calendar sees the conflict between the Tour's final day in Paris and the World Championship time trial in Switzerland on September the 20th. A week later, it's the road race before the World Tour heads to the Benelux region with a 5-day Bink Bank Tour and Flèche Wallonne, taking the season into October, and that will be its busiest month. The third monument of the season, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, comes on the first Sunday, a day after the Giro d'Italia launches in Sicily. As the Corso Rosa meanders through Italy, the classics continue, with the Amstel Gold Race and Ghent-Wevelgem back-to-back on the second weekend of October. Cobbled specialists will enjoy a normal build-up to the Ronde van Vlaanderen a week later, but it's the following Sunday where fans will be able to enjoy an extraordinary cycling feast. While those in Northern Europe take on the Hell of the North in Paris-Roubaix, the Giro d'Italia concludes with what could be a decisive final day time trial in Milan, while the Vuelta a España has a big day in the French Pyrenees, including the Col de Tourmalet. The Spanish Grand Tour, a shorter version than usual with just 18 stages, is set to conclude on the 8th of November and looks likely to wrap up the World Tour season with question marks remaining over whether the Tour of Guangxi will take place in China. A veritable feast of cycling sees 99 days of World Tour action before the end of November, plus even more at the lower levels. In a year where racing looked impossible at times, all fingers are crossed that cycling can reach the end of its 2020 season. The Giro di Lombardia, the race of the falling leaves and the traditional end to the European season. Despite the Monument Classic swapping autumn for high summer this year, the racing should be no less thrilling than what we've seen in the last several editions. 2013 was the last time a rider went back-to-back when Spain's Joaquim Rodriguez made it 2 in a row with a late attack.
A man named after a little cigar. He's going to be celebrating tonight. Oh, and there he is. He flies home, and he does the double here at Il Lombardia.
The The following season saw Dan Martin take the spoils with a burst of acceleration through the streets of Bergamo.
Oh, and here we go! It's time to go!
Dan Martin goes 500 metres towards this finish line. They're all looking at each other. Can the Irishman win this Il Lombardi for the first time?
It's final bend time. The Irishman sails it. Stay on your bike, Dan!
It was to be a day of redemption for the Irishman after losing out on a podium spot in 2013 thanks to a slip in the last corner. A year later, there'd be no denying him his first monument victory.
And Dan Martin says, today's mine!
"2015 proved to be all about downhill nerve and one home favourite. Who else but Vincenzo Nibali?
Here he goes. So who has got what it takes to keep up with him?
The answer, inevitably, was no one, as the Shark of Messina put in a descending display for the ages. It was a first monument victory for the Sicilian, and the first time an Italian national champion had raised his arms at the race since 2006.
Nibali has taken Il Lombardia! Wow, what a win that was!
Despite the Italian glory, the organisers were keen to shake things up, and in 2016 they added a daunting additional 1,000 metres of climbing. In the absence of Nibali, the pure climbers came to the fore. One popular Colombian rider in particular was ready to cap off his breakout season.
Here goes Chavez. Chavez being chased by Oran. Oh, and Bardet goes pop. Romain Bardet out of the game. 300 metres to go. This is it. Diego Rosa having a real go for Lombardy at the moment. They can't get on this wheel. Diego Rosa giving it a real go around the final turn. Uran just into the slipstream in the right time, and it's going to be a sprint for the monument. It's going to be a sprint for Il Lombardia. It's Rosa through the middle, coming round the outside though. Here we go with Uran, but he can't get around him. It's Diego Rosa through the middle. Here comes Chavez. Oh, Colombia have a monument! Colombia have a monument!
The ever-smiling Esteban Chavez becoming the first non-European rider to win the Tour of Lombardy and the first Colombian to conquer one of the 5 monuments. The following year, though, Vincenzo Nibali would be back to try to reclaim his crown.
Big attack from Vincenzo Nibali, a former winner 2 years ago, don't forget, of Lombardia. And Thibaut Pinot knows he's there. The Shark of Messina is getting onto Thibaut Pinot's wheel, and this will have Italy standing up in their seats.
The Sicilian once again using his descending skills to distance a helpless Pinot, silencing the critics on his way to his second Lombardia crown.
And if ever you doubted whether the Shark was done, he is back, and he has tasted blood once more on Lombardia. The victory goes in brilliant style for the Shark of Messina, Vincenzo Nibali, the winner of the 2017 Lombardia.
For Pinot, though, there was unfinished business. The disappointment of 4th place fresh in his mind a year later, the Frenchman wasn't going to make the same mistake, despite the efforts of old foe Nibali. The Groupama FDJ rider banished his old descending demons to become Lombardia's first French winner since Laurent Jalabert in 1997 and bagged the first monument of his career.
Gli applausi del pubblico, signore e signori. La 112ª edizione viene premiato da Mario Landrici.
to 2019, where another Grand Tour rider would make his classics breakthrough, and another long drought ended for the Dutch.
Bauke Mollema on the offensive. It's been Ciccone who's been trying to set things up, obviously, for Bauke Mollema, and he has gone and made his move.
The 33-year-old Bauke Mollema became the first Dutch winner since Henny Kuiper in 1981 and claimed one of his finest ever wins, the Giro di Lombardia.
My name's Tracy Gaudry and I'm a member of the Management Committee of the UCI and I'm the President of the UCI Women's Commission. As a member of the Management Committee of the UCI, we look around the world at locations, topography, terrain, countryside, safety, the interest in the local community. And Victoria has got so many of those ingredients. And the State Government of Victoria demonstrated that they were committed to cycling, not just at the elite level, but in the grassroots level.
The Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Race is the biggest one-day race outside of Europe and marks the climax of the Australian racing summer every January. Now, both a male and female UCI World Tour race, inCycle travelled along the route back in 2019 to see why it's a perfect place to ride. The first stop, where the race starts and finishes, the city of Geelong.
I was, several decades ago, a budding young cyclist brought up in Geelong, and Geelong was the training ground for the development of what became a professional cycling career.
I'm a bicycle frame manufacturer from Geelong. I've been doing it for around about 44 years. We used to do the ride on the Saturday before Cadel's race. We'd call it Old School Saturday, and we'd all get out on our old school bikes. And I remember we got mixed up in the group that were doing the longer ride. Matt White was up there and he says, "I don't know what's going on here. There's Eddie Merckx bikes, steel bikes, Francesco Moser steel bikes. There's steel bikes everywhere." He couldn't believe it. There's several well-known cyclists that live around Geelong. Yeah, it's got a really rich history in cycling. Phil Anderson, he was the first Aussie to wear the yellow jersey for the Tour de France. Cadel Evans, he's down in Barwon Heads.
We started Fuel in 2010, and it was sort of a mix of running my own business and obviously a passion for cycling, a little bit of a man cave with a coffee machine as a bonus. I think the location that we have close to the Melbourne main city, let alone the Great Ocean Road, it's such a great pivotal location that is easy access. Nationally, internationally, and a good mix of scenery and climate.
For those who have been a spectator or watched on television the Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Ride, there is a steep, short hill called Shallambra Crescent. As an athlete at the peak of their game, it's one of those challenging climbs that if you're in form, you're going to do a lot of damage.
It just gets steeper and steeper and steeper. The average gradient of 9.6%, but look at that maximum gradient, 22%. And when you're riding up it, you're literally just looking straight up into the sky as you approach the top of the climb.
Chilambra. That's quite a challenge for the local cyclists. Everybody has their Garmins and Strava and all that sort of thing, and they can look and see who's doing it, and then bang, they're trying to beat them.
The camera does do it justice. It's like a wall.
Yeah, it's a testing climb that is within access of anyone to do at any time of the day, which is, being a public road, you know, most other days of the year it's open to options.
Next, it's eastwards to Bellarine, just off the race route. Best known for its wine, it's still a very popular area with cyclists.
Jackrabbit, as it is, was formed in 2010 when David and Lindsay Sharp bought the property off our neighbours. We've got a really nice, relaxed, fine dining restaurant here, and we also have a very casual cafe. On the weekends and over the summer, the roads are clogged with lots of cycling groups. They come up here in all their cycling gear, and yeah, it's really good. It's a good feel for the place, and it's a good look.
For the third visit, it's back on to the race route and a stop off in Surf City, Torquay.
Torquay is the ultimate outdoor lifestyle. You're either surfing at the surf beach, hanging out on the family beaches, wandering around very, very open streets. So bike riders love being in Torquay.
My name is Craig Baird. I'm the curator here at the Australian National Surfing Museum. The Bells event is the longest continuously running surfing event anywhere in the world. Added to that is the Cadell Evans Great Ocean Road Race, and it's yet another sporting event that's run here that's on a significant level. The Shire has a focus on events, and obviously basing them in an area that's both famous and picturesque means that it'll capture people's imaginations.
Further down the coast is Bells Beach, home of the Bells Beach Rip Curl Pro Surfing Competition, and popular too with budding cyclists.
Yeah, around here we've got lots of hills. Yeah, we've also got lots of nice flats around the ocean and out in the forest as well. Out in the Golden Plains is quite different as well.
I think we're doing one of the favourite routes, yeah. Going here straight to the beach and then go back through the hills, and Forest Road, and then back to Mauriac and through the hills. Yeah, the Great Ocean Road Race. It's a good route, yeah.
Further along the Great Ocean Road, it's time to divert from the race route once again to the picturesque town of Lorne.
Movida is an iconic Melbourne restaurant. It's modern Australian interpretation of Spanish food with an accent on fresh local seasonal produce. Things like the cycling and the pier to pub, which brings people down, brings a whole different crowd up here. A lot of family focus, which is amazing. And then gives people who maybe hadn't had an opportunity to be exposed to Movida before a chance to enjoy the experience here with us. There's generally quite a young population down here in Lorne, and there's so much environment to explore here. Hiking up into the Otways, up through to Erskine Falls and the waterfalls. There's just so much to do here. It's amazing.
The final stop is back to Geelong, where the local community, businesses and cycling enthusiasts reap the benefits of the Cadell Evans Great Ocean Road Race throughout the year.
Having the Cadell race on, definitely see a lot more people coming into the area and exploring, getting to know Geelong, that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's great. Victoria's a bit of a hub for cycling because there's Victoria, when you look at it, it's got so many fantastic pockets within the state. that I can see would really appeal to cyclists. Like you've got up in the northeast, up in the high country there, beautiful vistas, the mountains, that sort of thing. Then there's obviously the surf coast down here and on the other side of the bay. So yeah, Victoria's got it all.
For the Cadell Evans Great Ocean Road Race to be re-awarded World Tour status for the men's race and awarded World Tour status for the women's race for the very first time means that the women's race will be the first ever Women's World Tour event in 2020, and for the first time putting female elite athletes on exactly the same pedestal as male elite athletes. There was nothing better than to go exploring the Surf Coast region, the Bellarine region, going down to Barwon Heads, down to Torquay, to Ocean Grove, and a little bit further afield to Lorne, for example, or even on a really big day down to Apollo Bay. When you think about that as a bike rider, it's almost like bike riding heaven. You know, you've got great ocean roads, you've got some of the world's best coastline, and you've also got friendly locals and lots of great cafes to boot to stop along the way. So there's a lot to be said for bike riding in the Geelong, Surf Coast and Bellarine region.
That's all for this season on inCycle. Until the next, keep up to date on social media.